cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur. Might solve the mystery or rewrite history. DuckTales. Ooh. Every day they're out there making DuckTales. Ooh. Tales of daring, do bad, and good luck tales. Danger, watch behind you. There's a stranger out to find you. What to do? Just grab onto some DuckTales. Woo! Every day they're out there making DuckTales. Woo! Tales of daring, do bad, and good luck tales. Woo! Not ponytails or cottontails, no DuckTales. Woo!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest episode of I'm No Joe, your home for all things combat sports and the place where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. The views and opinions presented on the I'm No Joe channel belong solely to the person expressing them, no one else. If we say it, that means we meant it. That being said, this show does contain adult themes, adult content, and general shit that you shouldn't be letting your kids intake. Be advised, viewer discretion is recommended. Proceed at your own risk. You've been warned. If it's Thursday, it's I'm No Joe. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like an Eddie Bravo. Today, we have got a slurry of things to talk about, I think would be the best descriptor for it. We're going to do a little bit of a recap of some of the literal fucking heebie-jeebie inducing shit that happened at UFC 261 last weekend. And we will talk about a little bit of what we've got upcoming this weekend from all of the combined MMA outlets that are throwing things out for us this upcoming weekend. But before we get into the shit talking and the shenaniganry, as like most of the time, I have got a panel full of glorious bastards here to help me get into this shit talking. First and foremost, the freshest guest a man could ask for, the coveted purple strap holder himself, Mr. Fresho 3. How you doing this afternoon, sir?
What's happening, man? Hanging out, waiting to see what the Colts do. Like, they're taking their sweet-ass time. Other than that, man, been a week.
Yeah, it sure the fuck has. Glad we got you on board this week, sir. And across the octagon from myself, as it is more often than not, my Wednesday night homeboy, my combat shit talking compatriot, the one and only Golf T Vapes. How you doing, sir?
I'm hungover from a good weekend. I'll say that. And at least there, I will say, is floofy as this week's card is. There are a couple fights that myself personally, I'm kind of excited to watch. Not to mention, I'm excited to hear Marab all fucking night long, because
we're gonna.
I'm saying he's got a takedown record that he needs to maintain, so we'll see what happens.
We're definitely gonna have some things to talk about in a little bit for sure. The beardless wonder himself is currently in Sin City. Do not know if we will catch him this evening or not. We will see as the night goes on, but let's jump into a little 261 talk here real quick. Give you guys that may have missed it a recap of some of the fucking insanity, oh my god, craziness that was UFC's 261 last weekend. Quick intermission. We just got the finish. Holy shit. 3 minutes, 38 seconds in the first round, Rory McDonald has officially defeated Curtis Millender via rear naked choke. PFL's season kickoff 3 is officially complete, with Rory McDonald winning by rear naked choke right after Ray Cooper III just won by arm triangle choke. So 2 chokes to close out the PFL show over there. Most exciting thing that really had happened other than the eye poke early on, but PFL happened literally just 2 minutes ago, in case anybody wants a little recap or some punchy kicky to go watch after the show is over. But getting to the 261, to be fair, this card on paper looked like a dumpster fire waiting for a match. Just gasoline-filled can rolling down the street looking for an ignition source. And holy shit, was it not that at all. From literally the opening fight on the card with the little Brazilian T-Rex who had like 7-inch reach difference from the giant Chinese lady that she was fighting against and put on a hell of a lot better show than anyone thought they were going to fucking Jeffrey Molina out of nowhere with fucking Rock'em Sock'em robot boxing match for 3 fucking minutes. God damn, that was a pair of great fucking opening round fights. Natividad, I really feel bad for that dude because he looked good for a split second and then he looked at the ceiling. Man, the early prelims for 261 was one of the best little fight stretches the UFC has thrown together in a hot minute here. And it didn't stop because Pat Sabatini came out and just did fucking work against the crazy Canadian. Props to Tristan Connolly for coming off the fucking shelf for 2.5 fucking years and just giving it your fucking all for 15 goddamn minutes, because that dude didn't have an ounce of fucking quit in him. But Pat Sabatini just would not be denied. You know, Tommy loved that match. You know he's got to love that match. Brandon Allen. Excuse me. I honestly thought in the moment that was going real fucking bad for him because Carl Roberson grabbed his knee and it looked like he was about to get cinched the fuck up on a knee bar. But at the same fucking time, he very cleverly flipped over and grabbed Carl's knee and twisted faster and put the knee bar on harder with more torque, and Robertson had to let go of his and then fucking give. Props to a hell of a quick fucking thinking in the moment decision that could have literally changed that fight 100 fucking %. If he would not have thought to grab how, when, and where he did with the force he did, he would have been in very serious trouble within a literal second. But fucking props to him. I don't know if he's going to get that Sean Strickland run back, because Strickland told him in a press interview today that he's a douchebag and he can fuck off. So I don't know that rematch really has the legs it might have last weekend when he tried to call out after the fact, but we'll see where that goes. I have to say the Brazilian Cowboy is most likely going to catch walking papers this weekend. And it's not anything anyone really wished for, but man, he didn't last around. And Randy Brown got him with one arm. One arm. He leaned on his own hand and one-armed him. Before he could get the second arm in, when he readjusted, Cowboy was already tapping and then talking shit as they stood up. I really don't see a whole lot of other options, man. You gotta love Cowboy, but I think that's 6 in a row he's lost now. And nobody gets that kind of luck with Dana. He's let much bigger celebrities go for much shorter loss streaks. So I honestly expect to see Cowboy catch walking papers and realistically probably end up in the PFL for the 2022 season in the next 2 weeks or so, because I don't think they can get him in this season in time. But I really can't see the UFC keeping him on now after a bunch of bad performances in a row, and then Randy Brown just having his fucking way with him. And it sucks, but Cowboy's been around for a hot goddamn minute. Much respect, but at the same time, you ain't on the level of these kids in the UFC anymore, Cowboy, and that only ends one of two ways. Either they cut you or you get cut unconscious. So take your papers and move on, brother. I think that's the best for you here. And that'll bring us into the main card. Holy fucking shit, I tell you. There was, and I do not exaggerate, not one moment from the opening bell of the first fight till the closing bell of the final fight where that main card was boring. This, in my opinion, is probably quite literally the best card the UFC main card has put together. In years, literally years. This is better than anything that they put together in Abu Dhabi. This is better than anything we saw with fucking Conor throwing fucking shoulder strikes and beating Cowboy against the fucking cage. This card as a whole was nothing but oh shit from start to fucking finish. We had 100% casual fans out of their seat screaming watching these fights with us. It was fucking awesome. The first one, starting right off at the fucking top, Anthony Smith versus Jimmy Crute. Jimmy Crute is a fucking monster, and Anthony Smith has learned the ways of the low kick like everyone seems to be adopting these days, and he quite literally shut Jimmy Crute's fucking leg off. He got him just enough times in just the right spots that Jimmy Crute quite literally could not stand on that foot, and the doctors would not let the fight continue. And he himself has also come out and said 100% credit to fucking Anthony Smith. That dude is a badass. He had a game plan. He stuck to it, and it worked without fucking fail. So hats the fuck off to him. Anthony Smith is putting himself right back in the conversation real quick here. And without his kryptonite in the way, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him coming up real quick here, because we know Glover's next. And honestly, as much as I love Glover Teixeira, if he does not win that belt, I don't know how much longer we see him sticking around. But also, if he wins that belt, I don't know how much longer we see him sticking around. In my opinion, there is a 50-50 chance he takes that belt and rides off into sunset like the fucking hero that he is, and no one can be mad at him if that's what he decides to do. That motherfucker has put in the time, miles, blood, sweat, and tears. If he decides he wants to GSP with that belt, you sing C'est La Vie and you stand up and you fucking wave at him as he goes. On the other hand, if that motherfucker decides that he wants to stick around, that's a literal rematch that's got the story built into it if he takes that belt. Getting real interesting. Getting real motherfucking interesting in that division again. I like that 205 is shaking everything the fuck up without one person in the way to bottleneck the whole goddamn division. It's kind of crazy how that's worked out, especially now that that person doesn't even have representation anymore since their management team decided to part ways with it. It'll be real interesting to see how those negotiations are working out going forward, eh, buddy? But that will bring us to what I will delicately call the most impactful moment of the entire evening. I do not have the vocabulary to enunciate how fucking insane what happened was. The layers of fucking coincidence that had to fall into place for Chris Weidman to throw the exact same kick that Anderson Silva threw against him, against the guy that just got done fighting Anderson Silva, and break his leg in the same place. And Chris Weidman today, to his credit, has released his before and after surgery x-rays to show you exactly what happened to it, and said that when he kicked, he didn't realize that it was broken, just like Anderson said. And when he went to step back, he went to put his full weight on that leg, not knowing what had happened. And when it gave, the broken bone went through his calf, which is why the UFC cameras cut away, because the bone went out his fucking skin. Two gigantic pieces of steel and a half a dozen screws later, the leg is reset. The surgery was successful and everything looks to be going as best as can be after something like that just fucking happened. But the future is very questionable for Chris Weidman, realistically. He is graciously on the back nine to begin with after having his fucking spine literally fused together last year. And now you add something this detrimental, you're looking at least a year and a half, maybe 2 years off before you're back to being able to start trying to train realistically. And that's base level. Now you're talking back to UFC top 15 level. I don't know if Chris Weidman realistically has another 4 years of top 10 UFC caliber performance in him anymore. But he's another one of those that he carried this organization on his shoulders as a fucking champion for a hot goddamn minute. He put that fucking belt on his shoulder and said, come fucking get it, and took all comers and put some great fucking fights on for this organization. So he's another one. And if this was the last we see of him, then you fucking hold your hat and you say, champ, have a good fucking day. But if he decides he wants to come back, I would be very, very curious to see how he is able to do that in a realistic time frame. And I'm not saying that to be an asshole. I'm saying that to be realistic. I believe Weidman is 41 now. And coming off of a literal spinal fusion. And now you're talking about a full, complete break of the leg that had to be set with plates and screws. I don't know if he's going to ballet again. I don't know. The bad part is that what do you do with Uriah Hall now? Because that's technically a win. That was a TKO. He technically just beat Chris Weidman.
Without throwing a single punch, because Dana White's cocksucker and decides to blast it out like, oh, only fighter to ever win a fight without throwing a punch. Fuck you, dude. That is the biggest fucking fluke that can happen. Look, we all know checking a leg kick, that can happen, but it generally doesn't. So that's him being a shitbag. But anyhow, I think turnaround time on that from the orthopedics side of the house, you're looking at least 8 weeks just for the bone to be able to heal and fuse minimum, especially with a fracture that bad. Now, being as he is a high-level athlete, they generally heal a little bit better because of the training they've done throughout life, just the way it works. Granted, he is getting to that geriatric age as far as the healing is concerned. So you're probably, if we see him, he might be able to train in, I would say, 10 to 12 months. And I say might. He'll be walking within 6.
Right.
Walking and moving within 6, guaranteed. But being able to actually train, you're looking at probably a year. And then after that, you got to give the guy at least 6 months to get himself reconditioned.
Right, to get back to fighting shape. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd be lucky to see him in a year and a half, 2 years. So I'm thinking depending on how fast his healing goes, that's going to depend on whether or not we see him again or not.
I think that's a pretty good assessment. Yeah. And it's one of those things, man, you don't want to wish somebody bad, but again, he ain't no spring chicken anymore. And that's a serious injury. Like, you can't rush something like that. We'll see how Weidman turns this around. From there, I don't really know who was surprised. Excuse me. But the bullet did what the bullet do. Kind of exactly as we predicted she was going to do. She gave Jessica round 1 as kind of a feel out, get the timing down, and round 2 she was done fucking around, and Jessica got it. She fucking got it. I will say this, it is not the first time we have seen it, and I don't think it will be the last time we see it, but for whatever reason, ladies have not learned that when Valentina gets you in that fucking crucifix, you're done. You're done. There's no out of that. There's no recovery. When she gets you stretched and starts raining, it's over. And Andrade learned the hard way. And still the fucking champ of 125. To her credit, did not, like some of us thought she should have, demand that fucking Amanda rematch. Like, makes fucking sense at this point. But she did say that it is kind of inevitable at this point. It's the one fight that everyone agrees needs to happen before both of them quit. And they're both on tirades in their allotted divisions. So it's realistically inevitably going to happen at some point, that they're both just going to keep cleaning out their divisions respectively in the meanwhile. So until then, I guess we're watching fucking Joanne Calderwood versus Chukagian for the next to get thrown at Valentina again after this.
I mean, you can only dump so many soup cans into the fire before the fire fucking takes everything out. So,
Right.
yeah, it's hard to watch sometimes. But yeah, I mean, you brought in a soup can from a different division, and I mean, with all due respect, calling you a soup can at this point, but you are not the fighter that is ever going to take out Shevchenko. And they bring you in from another division. You never should have gotten this shot to start with, and then you get annihilated. Like, you're just circling that drain. You're just circling it. You got to put the super fight together. Otherwise, I mean, there's nothing left for this division at this point. There's nothing. So, yeah.
That was just a beautiful representation of what Valentina does. Every fucking fight, dominates every woman in that flyweight division. There's not one that holds a candle to her. Not a goddamn one. We've seen it time and time again. What is that, the second or third time she's finished somebody in a crucifix?
That's her third crucifix in her career.
And there was Jessica, once she got to the ground, wasn't having any part of it. Like, she couldn't do anything about it. Like, the first time you saw her muscle her way up, but once she got put back down, she couldn't muscle her way out the whole way out. And give Jessica credit. She didn't quit. She didn't tap. But there wasn't a whole lot she could do.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of options at that point.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I don't know what Valentina does next. The only thing that makes sense for her is to go up a weight class and take on the title. That's the only fight that really makes sense, because who else is in that division right now that can even say they have I won't say a legitimate
Right.
reason to fight for the title. I think maybe the closest I could think would probably be Lauren Murphy. Maybe. And I say maybe because Lauren Murphy would get fucking destroyed.
That's what I was just about to say. Lauren Murphy, I agree, has the most legitimate claim of any of them, I feel. But at the same time, I don't know, honestly, that she would last as long as Andrade did.
Well, or
I like Lauren Murphy.
Do you think the UFC could put sister versus sister together?
I think they could, but I think Antonita would have to get her shit together first. And she's had a fucking rough go of that lately for whatever goddamn reason.
I'm just saying that would be I'm just saying that would sell tickets no matter what kind of shit Antonina is getting her shit kicked around. Just saying,
yeah,
sister versus sister, that'll sell tickets. But that's the only other fight that's in that division that goes. That would pique my interest. The rest of them, meh. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to tune in to watch Valentina beat anybody's ass. I don't care who it is they put in front of her. Please let me watch it. She's basically anything in that fucking division is light work for her now. It's ironic that I say that about a fucking flyweight division, but it is really light work for her.
Right? It feels a little weird to talk about it like that, but at the same time, scientific method. Fuck around, find out.
Yeah, if the shoe fits, fucking wear it at this point.
Oh man, no, fucking Valentina is a monster, man. I'm gonna be real curious to see what they do with her next. But that will bring us to the co-main event of the evening. The hashtag people's main event, really, for the most part. Weili Zhang versus Rose Namajunas. A lot of us had Rose winning this fight. I don't know that anyone that I talked to in the week leading up to or the day of the fight predicted Rose Namajunas to win by fucking head kick and by beautiful, perfect textbook example of a head kick. Because holy shit, did she put Weili into fucking orbit. She went down stanky leg and all from the head kick, and Rose followed up to get the stoppage and got it so efficiently that Weili woke up and didn't believe that she went out and yelled at the referee, pushed the referee, was pissed the fuck off at the referee, denying that she had ever went out. And we watched it. We watched it happen twice when you go back and you see the slow-mo. When she hits the ground, she comes back too. And then Rose fucking lands on her. And she goes out again. And the ref jumps in and she comes back again. Rose is a beast. I genuinely like Weili. And I really feel that she is probably Rose's realistic only competition in that division. We've already seen what she can do to Joanna. We've seen what Weili can do to Joanna. Joanna's basically been forced out of this fucking equation here. I think these two are going to be going back and forth over that belt for years to come until one of the two of them moves divisions or gives up. I understand that this was Weili's first professional victory and that hurt. She has since come out and issued a formal apology and congratulated Rose and done the proper thing. But in the moment, boy, she got worked. And you could fucking see it when she stood up and had no clue what the fuck was going on and got real mad. But Doug Rose, the fucking strawweight queen for real. First woman in UFC history to ever regain a title. Doug Rose. I'm telling you, it's going to be her and Weili back and forth in the top of that division for a long time, in my opinion, boys.
What I want to know is who do they feed her next? It's a beautiful finish, but who do they feed her next? Because to be quite honest, are they going to throw Joanna at her a third time?
I don't think so.
and I'm really hoping not. That's what I'm trying to get at is that division is similar to fucking the flyweight division. However, the one that I will say that, in my opinion, makes sense, Yan Xiaonan, she makes sense right now to go in there. She's earned her way to the top of that fucking list.
I can see that. Although I will say, somebody said on ESPN, I think it was Tuesday when they were talking about this. Obviously, with a knockout that quick in the first round, that hard, an immediate rematch doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So they have to find somebody for Rose. But with Joanna barking that she wants the winner and she obviously doesn't deserve it, this would also make a great time to have Joanna versus Weili 2, because Joanna Weili 1 was great. Now we get a 3-round version, non-title fight version of that. See them both put the pedal to the gas a little harder because they don't have those 2 extra rounds. That could be real fun.
Although the way the UFC has been working lately, I have a strange feeling the next fight we're going to see Rose have to fight is going to be Mackenzie Dern.
They're pushing so fucking hard on her, aren't they?
Exactly my point. The way they're pushing, it would not surprise me a bit that if they make that fight and then make Joanna Wiley 2 for to take on the winner of Dern and Namajunas. I could see that very easily happening because, well, the fucking UFC is filled with a bunch of scumbags who are pushing shit because, oh my God, this is what we want as the face. Fuck you. Fuck you right in your dirty asshole. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. Just saying it's a possibility. But either way, Namajunas knocks out fucking Dern too.
Yeah, she fucking made quick work of Mackenzie. I fucking promise you that much. But hopefully we don't have to fucking deal with that anytime soon. But that will bring us to the actual main event from last Saturday's UFC 261. I will say round 1 was fairly goddamn competitive. It wasn't a landslide either way. But round two, Usman came out and just shut everything down. And he ended that fight like a goddamn movie. He hit Jorge Masvidal with such a picture-perfect shot. It literally knocked the sweat off of his head into a fucking halo as he crumpled to the goddamn canvas. You could not fucking Hollywood script a shot that perfect. Even Masvidal had nothing to fucking say about it. There was no complaining. There was no excuses. He did the goddamn thing. Kamaru Usman knocked Jorge Masvidal out fucking cold. For the first time since 2012, Jorge has ever been knocked out. So 'tis the season for motherfuckers who don't get KO'd to get KO'd this year, apparently. God damn, Usman with that fucking shot, man.
I'll give him credit. It was a beautiful shot. However, I will say his boxing is still sloppy as fuck, though. Yeah. Like, if he tightens that up a little bit, I don't think there'll ever be anybody until he retires to take him out of there, as much as I fucking hate to say that.
Not anytime soon, anyway. Not unless one of the Neils finally gets their shit together. But fight of the night, Jeff Molina versus fucking Quilang. I'm telling you, that was a fucking 3-round boxing war. It was a fucking awesome match. It was the second fight of the fucking card. Those boys got the fuck after it and got you in to fucking UFC 261 if you weren't already from that fucking ladies fight that opened it. Performances of the night, Rose Namajunas and Marty from Nebraska. 50K fucking knockouts for both of them. You can't really fucking complain about either one of those. It just sucks that they didn't give Valentina 50K for her beautiful fucking stoppage as well. But, you know, for some reason, they're only doing 2 of them at a time. Anywho. And then Sunday brought us Submission Underground 23. Jillian Robertson unfortunately lost due to escape time in the overtime round. Team Simon, I am firmly 100 fucking percent convinced, lost their tag team championship belt because the management refused to allow them to be called Team Simon and insisted they be called Team ATT. Might as well just cut the fucking mullet off. You neutered him, Chael. You neutered him. I'm saying it out loud. God damn it. You neutered him. They demand a fucking rematch. They deserve it. But Mason fucking Fowler did what Mason fucking Fowler does. Andy Varela is a bad motherfucker, but Mason Fowler holds the ultimate belt in Submission Underground for a fucking reason. It's a little rough that they make him defend that motherfucker like every month, but Mason Fowler is enough of a badass that he can handle it, and he is quite literally taking on the best of the best in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world every month or every other month and winning every fucking time. So we found out yesterday that it is already officially confirmed for Submission Underground 24 that Mason Fowler will be once again defending his fucking Ultimate Champion belt, this time against Kyle Chambers, who won during this last weekend Submission Underground 23. Another up-and-coming top fucking prospect in the jiu-jitsu world, another coincidental 10th Planet kid. So we'll see if Kyle does any different, but 10th Planet style does not stop Mason Fowler, as we have now had represented by 4 different attempts, and none of them could do it. So I wish Kyle Chambers luck, and I will definitely be watching because it's going to be interesting, but I do not foresee that belt changing hands any more than I see Valentina's belt changing hands over on that side of the fucking house. So that being said, we will get into a quick little bit of news and recent events. We do have a couple of interesting fight announcements and a couple of fight polls that I do want to talk about real quick before we get into this weekend's Punchy Kiki breakdown. The first and foremost, one of the most important that we have to talk about because it's fucking prevalent right now. The reason I played the fucking DuckTales theme song because Scrooge McDuck himself, Dana White, and the UFC have officially been taken public by their parent company, Endeavor. The UFC is now officially a publicly traded IPO, and in one day of doing so, their stock has risen 7%. If you owned stock in the UFC prior to today, congratulations. If you bought stock in the UFC today, congratulations. If you want to buy stock in the UFC tomorrow, it's going to hurt your fucking wallet. They're going to take that fucking IPO sky high for a little bit. So getting in on the ground floor of that one is going to make Dogecoin look like nothing. I'm telling you right fucking now. How long that rides and what impact that really has on how the company itself is run, we'll see as this starts to play out. But they are now officially publicly traded, and beholden to their shareholders. So we'll see what that does for the company. More. Go ahead.
I just want to say something about that. I don't think this is going to pan out well for the fans. I really don't. Because this has boxing written all fucking over it.
That's exactly why I wanted to mention it, because this is quite literally how boxing ended up with 73 belts and 93 fucking promotions, and everything being confusing and fucking frustrating in the world in boxing started with bullshit just like this.
The only difference between this and boxing is boxing never turned into an IPO. But still, that because it's publicly traded, there's going to be a lot more fucking mouths, in a boardroom going, this is what needs to happen in order for us to make money. So you need to make these fights because these are the guys that have star power and these guys do not. So it's going to fuck a lot of great fights out because, well, that's what I think. Not saying that is going to happen because I don't know, but I have a feeling it's going to fuck a lot of the fans out of things we actually want to see. And we're going to get shit like Mackenzie Dern stuffed down our throats, whether we like it or not.
I agree. That's kind of why I wanted to mention, because I feel like now with the company quite literally beholden to shareholders demanding a profit be turned rather than a group of people who know the industry and the MMA world at large fairly well and how things should be run. I have a feeling this is not going to end good for anyone other than shareholders in the UFC.
And I think it's going to fuck the fighters too, because I think that's going to end up cutting fighter pay or making it harder for them to make pay.
Right.
Well, although maybe that coincides with the sale of Proper 12. So one Conor McGregor could become a large majority shareholder.
I was going to talk about that in a minute, but yeah, we can absolutely mention the fact that Conor McGregor and Abe, his manager, have sold their majority shareholder stock in the Proper 12 company. They both will still remain on, Conor as brand ambassador and a board member, and Abe as a executive in the company as well. But they are now $600 million richer. This coming after Tuesday, it was confirmed that Conor McGregor had officially donated $500,000 to the Boys and Girls Club of Louisiana instead of Dustin Poirier. But then he sold his majority share in Proper 12 for $600 million. And then the UFC goes public. So I have a sneaky suspicion that 600 million would buy a good chunk of shareholder stake in the UFC now that they're publicly traded.
Do you know something else that pops into mind? Speaking of the Conor McGregor buying and selling shit, he bought the bar where he punched the fucking old man, and then immediately banned him.
Yeah.
Fucking ridiculous. But anyhow, something stupid, little comic relief because I thought that shit was funny as hell when I read it.
I agree, but you gotta say, when you got fuck you money, you can do fuck you stuff.
Yeah, that's it. And all them, I'm wondering if there possibly, because of the way that all played out, if Conor McGregor all of a sudden bought up a whole bunch of the UFC stock, wondering if there may or may not have been some insider trading shit going on, knowing about what's going on, about to go public.
You never know. Stranger things have happened. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, but by the way, weird coincidence, we'll call it.
I agree, and they're fun. We did get a little bit of sad news, twofold, on the May 8th card coming up. We lost not only our main events when TJ Dillashaw split his fucking eye wide open in training, and the doctors have not cleared him to be able to fight again by May 8th for that. So Corey Sandhagen is still up looking for a replacement, but it does not look like it's going to happen. So the UFC has said if they cannot find a replacement, they're going to move up Michelle Waterson versus Marina Rodriguez. Not nearly as good of a fight, but we'll see how that goes. But shortly after finding that out, we also found out that for currently undisclosed reasons, Diego Sanchez has officially pulled out of the May 8th fight against Cowboy Cerrone, which was being touted as Diego's retirement fight. So Cowboy as well is still on the hook and is looking for a replacement fight, but that card is quickly falling apart. It wasn't the greatest card to begin with, but those were two of the main reasons people would have tuned into that card, and now they're both off as of now. So I don't know that we're going to get replacements for either of them, let alone a replacement that's going to make them as good of a fight as they both were. We'll stay tuned this week, and I'll get you guys updated again next week if we find anything out. we did get a pair of BKFC sign-on announcements this week. Pair of pairs, I guess you could say. The first one being Pearl Gonzalez, who is more known for her social media and out of ring antics than her in-ring prowess, and definitely not so much known for her striking, but again, BKFC signed her on and brought her in as well. And then yesterday we got the very highly touted acquisition from Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship of one Rachel Ostovich, who also is more well known for her social media presence and out of ring shenanigans than her in ring antics, and definitely not known for her striking prowess either. Most notably recognized for her match with Paige Van Zant, who they are now saying they're going to match her up with Bare Knuckle, aiming for a June match. So the wrestling match that everyone was super excited to see is now going to get turned into a Bare Knuckle match that no one really asked for, and I don't think it's going to work as well as they're hoping it's going to. I'm sure it's going to sell a whole lot of BKFC t-shirts when you see those girls wearing them. But I don't know that it's going to do a whole lot for the legitimacy of the organization as a whole. We will see, though, because everyone's going to watch those one way or another. We did get another Wednesday edition of One on TNT this week. Unfortunately, Ang Lasang did lose his light heavyweight championship. And the real salt in the wound of it is he lost it to De Ridder, the gentleman who took the middleweight belt from him last October, because Ang Lasang was the champ middleweight light heavyweight. De Ridder wrestle fucked him in October and took that middleweight belt from him, and literally wrestle fucked him yesterday and took the light heavyweight belt from him. De Ridder was quite literally shooting a double leg on Ong in the first 3 seconds of the fight, did not throw a single punch before he shot a takedown, and spent the entirety of all 5 rounds trying to hold him to the ground. Ong had some great fucking moments in the fight. It was not a one-sided battle by any stretch of the imagination. Ong Lasang does not fucking give up. The Burmese Python is a bad motherfucker through and through, but he absolutely got wrestle fucked, and unfortunately not only lost his belt, but lost his belt to the same guy that he just lost his champ status and his previous belt to, who has now taken his champ status and one-upped him to such an extent that in his post-fight interview, De Ridder called for the winner of Brandon Vera versus KJ Buller in the heavyweight division. He wants to be the first professional MMA fighter to be a triple champion active in all 3 divisions. I don't know that the WrestleFuck game that he's got, which is, to his credit, very strong, but I don't know that that game is going to work against either Brandon Vera or KJ Buller. Those are both very large gentlemen who can also wrestle their ass off, and both of them are world-class kickboxers on top of that. So I don't think that WrestleFuck game will work against either of those big boys, but hey, credit where credit is due. He's trying to do the goddamn thing. Go for it. Reach for the stars, buddy. The other thing that we saw Wednesday night on the One on TNT event was Eddie Alvarez get absolutely fucking ragdolled. They had announced Tuesday that the athletic commission over there had officially overturned his previous One on TNT loss by disqualification to 2 strikes to the back of the head to a no contest, on the grounds that they thought the referee should have stopped the fight and gave him a hard warning before stopping the fight as the disqualification. So it is now an official no contest. And it seemed like Eddie Foliang took that a little bit personal. Eddie Alvarez got the absolute shit beat out of him. Deservedly so, in my opinion. He talked a whole lot of shit and completely overlooked this gentleman and got worked. The other nice little piece of ha 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 that we got from Last night's one on TNT was the turnout of Shinyan Aoki in his explanation of his "eat shit, come get some" tweet to one Sage Northcutt. The translator would not translate half of what he said as he laughed and responded to the question in Japanese, just saying that no, he meant every word that he said, and Shinyan said a lot of swear words that I'm not going to translate for you. So Aoki wants some of Sage Northcutt real fucking bad, and I think that would be a great fucking match. And that gentleman has definitely learned how to set up a fight. I think he'd give it to him. God damn it, I think it would be a great matchup. And he certainly got his press game on point. He giggled his way through it while he talked about it. I think that'd be a real fun setup when we see that as well. We did get kind of tying back to 261 just a little bit. And as much as I hate talking about it, it kind of has to be talked about just to put the ribbon on it here. Jake Paul called DC out for a boxing match. Yeah. And then Jake Paul showed up at UFC 261, where DC quite literally told the broadcast team, I need 3 minutes. And they told him no. And he said, I'm taking 3 minutes. And they said, okay, well, you got 3 minutes. And he threw his headset on the desk and walked over and got right up in Jake Paul's face and literally said, I'm a grown man. I'm not one of these kids. Don't fucking play with me. If you want to fight me, sign an MMA contract, and I will bring my fat 41 bad back having ass out of retirement and cut all the way down to 205 to fight you. Otherwise, shut the fuck up. I'm not going to be in your celebrity boxing game. And if you keep this shit up, I'll find you outside of a venue somewhere. John Anik said he heard every word of that crystal fucking clear, and I quote, and there was not a bead of sweat on DC's forehead anywhere, which is rare. So Anik confirmed that DC put that little shit in his fucking place and was cool as a cucumber about it. So I feel that part of it deserves the mention here, because if that little shit stain really wants to try and legitimize himself, get in the fucking cage and let that 40-something-year-old man cut weight back to 205 and fight you, because he'll fucking murder you and no one will ever hear your fucking name again. I promise. Which is exactly why we know he'll never fucking sign on for that shit, because he wants to keep playing his little publicity game. So, go make your money, play your game, but don't try and legitimize yourself anymore, son, because you ain't it. We did get the announcement earlier this week, but it got even weirder. Originally, Vinny Magalhaes was going to fight this weekend or tonight actually, on the PFL event. But Vinny, being the madman that he is, cannot train like normal people train and hurt himself in training, so had to pull out last weekend. Well, we found out yesterday evening, the night before the fight, that Vinny's replacement was also out of the fight because he had torn his rotator cuff. So that poor gentleman is completely off the card, and we will likely not see Vinny in the 2021 season of PFL, which does kind of suck because he is another one of those badass Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu dudes who's trying to make the transition into MMA, but can't catch a fucking break trying. So we'll see how that goes. 2 more fight announcements here, and then we will get into some punchy kicky breakdown for you. The first one, Ben Askren Jr. himself, Chase Hooper, is officially stepping back into the octagon to see if he has tightened his fucking boxing up by now. I sure fucking hope so. Taking on Steven Peterson at UFC 263 on June 12th. So not only are they giving him another shot, they're putting him on a fucking pay-per-view. So they seem to have some faith that young curly-headed motherfucker has got his punchy game back on point. And I certainly hope so, because we know he can wrestle, but man, that kid is a big fucking bullseye if he don't get his fucking hands tightened up. The other one that we got here, last one we've got for you this evening, very, very cool fight in white. It is not going on a pay-per-view card. I do not understand, but July 24th, we will be seeing Rafael Asunciao stepping in at 135 pounds to take on Kyler Phillips. Kyler Phillips has been on a bit of a fucking roll lately. Surf Jesus has been doing the goddamn thing since they brought him back to the UFC. And I don't know if we have ever seen Asunciao at 35 before. I believe this is going to be his bantamweight debut, which is weird that all these fucking old guys keep going down in weight. That being said, Asunciao is one of those that's dangerous enough. If he can make 135 proper like, this could get real fucking interesting, real fucking fast down there in bantamweight again. Kyler Phillips is not going to be a fucking walk in the park by any stretch of the imagination, but from what we've seen out of Asunciao, neither is that fucking weight cut to 135 either. So I'm kind of curious to see how that one plays out.
How the fuck is he going to make that weight?
That's kind of what I was like.
Boy, at 145.
That's why I had to double check that they were fighting at 35 because I'm like, wait, no, is Kyler going up? No. Rafael's going down to 35. He was a big 30 or 45er rather. Man, I don't know. Yeah, I'm very, very curious to see how that plays out for sure. But that being said, that will bring us to our marquee event of the evening, our reason for the season, our namesake for this particular episode. The post 261 Hangover card that is UFC Fight Night, Reyes versus Prochaska. I say it all the time, and I'm going to keep saying it until they stop doing it. The fight card before a pay-per-view event and the fight card after a pay-per-view event suck. I did not really think I would ever get to a point where I would consider uttering these words, but I wish the UFC would take a fucking week off once in a while. I love that we get so many goddamn fights these days, but we're getting quantity over quality, and it's starting to devalue the product overall, especially when you're going public with the company. You want to make it seem as enticing as possible, and quite literally flooding the market with your product without improving the quality of it is not how capitalism works, at least not in America. That being said, there are some very interesting fights on this card. There's a couple of really good ones, but I think there's more interesting fights than there are exciting fights, if that makes sense to you. The first one that I want to talk about just real quick being an interesting fight, the opening fight on the card. Luke Sanders versus Felipe Carrales. These two were never scheduled to fight each other. These two both had separate fights and both of their opponents fell out. So they ended up literally pairing the two of them up together and letting them open the card up. Even in being a shitbag, sometimes the UFC does one or two little things right, this being a prime example of them. I think that is exactly what should have happened. I don't know if the opening card or the opening fight on the card was the right place to put it, but I am happy that the UFC made the best of a bad situation to let both these guys stay on the card to fight instead of having to fucking go when both of their opponents fell out. I think it's going to be real interesting. I think they're both going to have a lot of jitters because of it now, but I still think there's potential for that fight to be interesting.
I think that'll be good for both of them because you're throwing both of them into some unfucking known territory for the both of them.
Get it right out.
And you're getting a chance to open a card. Why not? It's your chance to shine and set the card off on the right foot. I mean, you got some big fucking shoes to fill after last week, but you know.
Right. Yeah, that's for damn sure.
You can at least make it. You can make a decent go of it.
I agree.
We'll see what happens.
It could be real difficult. I also think the Kaya Kamaka versus TJ Brown fight could be very interesting. Another featherweight matchup where both of these guys don't understand how to back up. They both just do this like 145-pound Rock'em Sock'em robot match. That could be real fucking fun if it plays out that way. That's pretty much all that has the remotest inkling of interest for me on the prelim cards. The problem is that when we flip over to the main card here, there's not a whole lot much more on the main card either. Realistically, there are 4 fights that I want to talk about on this main card. That's it. The first one, if you've been watching this show for any amount of time, you probably already know. We are all 100% excited for this weekend to come so we can all hear Merab! There's a takedown record for a reason. And the best part about it is that the person who has come the closest to breaking that takedown record in the UFC so far has been the guy that is fighting him this weekend. We get to see Merab Dvalishvili versus Cody Stamann. And this has all of the ingredients to be one of the most glorious shit shows of the weekend. This is 2 spectacular wrestlers going against each other, which means it's going to end up being a stand-up kickboxing match. And they're both terrible at stand-up kickboxing matches. Both of them want so desperately to grab you and get you to the ground that this being forced for both of them to be a stand-up match is going to be a dumpster fire on fucking wheels, and it's going to be glorious. They will both be trying to counter wrestle each other while striking, and they are both terrible at it. So it's going to be hilarious and entertaining, if nothing else. I do not see the 21 takedown in 3 rounds record being broken this weekend, but it's going to be glorious to watch these 2 gentlemen go at it, I assure you.
That's going to be a glorious dumpster fire. I have this feeling. I mean, but the plus side, at least we're just going to hear Merab fucking 4,000 fucking times. Because, you know, God forbid fucking Matt Serra learn any other fucking words when Merab is fighting.
or a volume level to say them at.
Yeah.
I do have to say, though, I honestly don't care who's fighting or what fucking event it is. Anytime we get to see Matt Serra corner somebody makes me happy. It really does. Because he was a badass fighter. He's a badass human being. And he's an even more badass coach, in my opinion. If you've seen any of his stuff, Matt Serra is one of the few people you, in my opinion, would want in your fucking corner when you're going through the shit, which is why it befuddled me so much that Aljo fucking shit on him. That's a dude you want having your back when the fucking fire is heating up.
Yeah.
Merab's got it. And Merab ain't going nowhere.
Why wouldn't you fucking want a UFC Hall of Famer, former champ in your fucking corner?
Right? Not to mention one of Dana's besties.
Yeah.
You know, he literally fucking globetrots with the boss every couple weeks to do a fucking TV show and eat weird food.
Yeah.
Not a bad guy to have in your fucking corner at all.
Yeah, not at all. But yeah, Aljo's gonna Aljo.
No shit. But the next fight that I want to talk about real quick is actually the next fight on the card here. Sean Strickland versus Christophe Jocko. Sean Strickland is a very interesting character. He might not have the most power, but man, that motherfucker is resilient, and he is trying to out big mouth Kevin Holland. He spent the majority of his last fight yelling, "Why won't you fall down, Jack? Is your head made of steel? I've hit you too many times. Fall down, Jack." Jack did not fall down. It was a fucking entertaining fight, and Sean Strickland has some pretty fucking good hands. He just, unfortunately, like I said, doesn't have the power behind him that he really needs to. But Christophe Jocko is a fucking weird puzzle piece, man. He is rangy, and he has got such an awkward style, but he's got good movement, so it makes him hard to pin down. And I think it's going to be a real good test for Strickland here. Unfortunately, I have a feeling, though, if Jocko can get around him, Strickland's not going to have much of a chance of denying that Allen rematch that he wants, douchebag or not. But I think it's going to be real interesting. I think Strickland's got a real good fundamental background, but he's got to do something to either throw more combinations or find a way to get some more fucking power in those shots. Because Christophe Jocko also has a pretty decent chin, and with that weird style and awkward sense of timing, he's going to make it tough, man. He's not going to be easy to put away, and he's not going to be easy to pin down. It's going to be pretty interesting, I think.
Jocko's on a bit of a fucking little run here too, and he's taking out a couple decent names. I mean, beat Eric Anders, Burial. I mean, the dude's definitely moving in the right direction. I wouldn't call him a soup can at this point anyway. At this point anymore, he's moving into that contender fucking status of if he can get a win here over what I'll call a pretty tough Sean Strickland and a pretty mouthy Sean Strickland at that, that'll definitely raise his stock a lot. Although, to be quite honest, as much as I hate to say this, I'm enjoying more and more of the Kevin Hollands that want to fight and talk shit while they're fighting. Probably because you can hear it when there's no fucking crowds.
Yeah, clear as day.
Look, fighters have been talking shit the whole times during fights, even when there was crowd. Habib was a prime example of that. He would talk the whole fucking fight. But now, with a lot of these events where there's no crowds, you get a clear representation of what these guys are actually saying. Now, don't get me wrong. You hear a lot of these interviews. What did you say to him? Oh, it's shop talk. Meaning, we're in the middle of the fight. We're just fucking jacking. And that's what it is. But still, for those of us that are not in the cage with them or within earshot, being able to hear it in a closed event setting, fucking fantastic to hear what goes through these people's minds as they're fighting. I want more of that. Just purely out of my own fucking just curiosity of I want to get into these people's heads to know exactly what are you thinking while you're fighting. Some of the shit that comes out of people's mouths while they fight, completely off the wall, and some other shit, fucking hilarious. So I say more of it, but it'll be an interesting fight. To be quite honest, I think the odds makers have this one a little fucked, though. I think Jocko, in my opinion, is going to beat Strickland. But I think it's going to come the way of decision.
He is kind of a decision machine at this point. But Tarzan's been finishing people. He's been a little bit of a tear himself. He's been TKOing fools. So just to play devil's advocate, I'm gonna take Tarzan. Looked pretty darn good recently. Like I said, been finishing people. So I'm more inclined to lean towards somebody that's finishing people than I am someone who's pushing for decisions. Just cause. So I'm gonna give him middle of the second. I'm gonna say Tarzan finishes him.
I can see that. So before we jump into the next fight here real quick, we literally have late breaking news right now, just pushed across the wire. I actually got the notification on my phone while you guys were talking. That's what I was just looking up to confirm it. Officially confirmed by 3 different sources now. Yoel Romero is officially out of the fight against Rumble Johnson next week. He did not clear pre-fight screening.
Ooh.
A week out, did not clear pre-fight screening. And they will not specify as to what it was in the pre-fight medical screening that prohibited him.
No, I know. Horse meat. It was fucking horse meat.
That is the $26 million question, isn't it?
Also have some breaking news here. Looks like the Green Bay Packers have selected Eric Stokes, cornerback out of University of Georgia.
Let's not talk
Again.
about that right now.
Begins. We talked about that a little bit before the show. It's a very interesting situation in Green Bay if you're a foosball fan right now, especially now that they have just officially drafted a quarterback.
Corner.
Oh, cornerback. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Eric
That makes it
Stokes,
less
cornerback.
Such as quarterback.
He's actually a hell of a corner. But
A little less interesting, but still very interesting.
they already did Jordan Love last year, so he's good in practice, TJ.
Yeah, good in theory is like being almost good. It only counts hand grenades and horseshoes.
Oh man. But that will bring us to the co-main event of the evening here. One knockout cancer himself, Giga Chikadze versus Cub fucking Swanson. This, I feel, is a very good matchup for both of these gentlemen. Which one of you gentlemen would like this one first?
I'll take it. It's a hell of a mixed bag for me on this fight. I understand why they're making it, because as far as the rankings for these two, they're pretty fucking close. But at the same time, the fight doesn't make sense to me, all in the same right. As much as I love Cub Swanson and love what he's done for the sport, because he's been around for a really, really long time. I think the only thing that's giving him any fucking good news right now is that he's on a 2-fight win streak, which we haven't seen him on a 2-fight win streak in fucking ages. Granted, that was over the course of the end of 2019. And then one fight in December of last year. And now he's going to all of a sudden make a 4 fucking month turnaround after going a year and some change between fights. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me because he was getting his ass handed to him up until fucking the end of 2019. He is literally on the backside of his fucking career, and all of a sudden he's getting a 2-fight resurgence. I don't think this fight makes sense, or the fact that they still have him ranked number fucking 15. Don't know why. I don't think he belongs at 15. But hey, Cubs got a chance to knock out. That I'll give him. Giga, on the other hand, that dude has been a fucking show pony. And there's fucking win after win after win since he's come in. He hasn't lost in the UFC yet. And I say yet. However, this is in my opinion, this is a big step up in competition for him because he hasn't fought anybody with the name of even Cub Swanson. The people that Cub Swanson was losing to during that fucking skid are all guys that are at the top of the fucking division right now, or fucking about to challenge for the title or have challenged for the title. It's not like he was losing to fucking goddamn soup cans. He was losing to the best of the best. So don't get me wrong when I say he's on the downward slope. He's not that bad off. He's not full bore fucking max terminal velocity going downhill at this point. But he's definitely on the back end. And I'd say this is a big step up for a couple reasons. The guys he was beating the brakes off of since he's come in, all pretty much no names, middle of the road guys that are never going to amount to a lot. Granted, he's dominantly beaten them. So for him coming in here, he's got a lot of fucking a lot to prove right now. To be quite honest, I don't know that he gets this done. And not with seeing Cub on a 2-fight streak right now, getting his confidence back under him. And a confident Cub is a dangerous Cub. As we've seen it previously in his career, when he was on runs, those runs lasted a long time. It seemed like he would get better after each win. Oh, Giga, I don't know how he's going to stack up to a crafty old veteran. Don't get me wrong. He has a lot of talent, but he's also very wet behind the ears still. He hasn't faced anybody worth a mention in the featherweight division at this point. So, if anything, I think Cub gets this done. I don't think we're going to see a finish here by Cub. I think it's going to end up being a fucking decision. The only chance Giga has to out-decision him, I don't know if he can out-decision him, but I do think he can fucking put him to sleep, because we know Cub has had a suspect chin. So that would be his way out. So, but right now, I'm leaning towards Cub getting it done and giving Giga his first fucking loss in the UFC.
Cub Swanson, you old man. You old. He has looked impressive the last couple fights. I will say that. And he's fit relatively well into that gatekeeper status. He's in that top 15. I think he's up against something that I don't know if he's going to be able to. I don't know if he's going to be able to handle the ninja, as he calls himself. Giga's something else. He's something else. He's been deadly. Granted, he's gotten a lot of decisions. So I honestly think if it goes to decision, it leans more towards Giga. Just because I think he can outpace him. I think he can outstrike him. I think he can handle it. I don't see this going to decision though. I think Giga's probably going to finish him off. I don't know if it'll be. I'm gonna go TKO. I'm gonna go TKO beginning of the third. I think by the beginning of the third, he'll have beat him down enough to where he would be able to get a TKO in. Cub's always got that knockout shot, but I think Giga at this point is good enough that he can slip those shots and he can deliver back on his own. So I'm picking Giga to take up Swanson out on this one.
So I agree with Fresh 03 on this one here. Cub Swanson is absolutely on a little bit of a tear right now, but it's not quite the same as the Glover Teixeira old guy on a tear thing that's going on right now, because Glover has been beating the dog shit out of the top of the fucking top as an old guy making one last run at it. And Cub has kind of just been hanging in there and not getting his ass kicked real bad by a lot of guys and squeaking out a couple. He has had a couple of good wins recently, but he's also ended up on a lot of highlight reels on the bad end for a whole bunch of people in the last couple of fights. And the last couple of wins that he's got this tendency to lean and almost lurch forward to try and get the takedown. He'll throw a couple punches, but he does a real lunging reach when he does his takedown attempts, when he tries to change levels. And we know his chin is suspect. So you add a suspect chin with kind of a desperation reach technique that he's really latching onto lately. And then you put that up against a literal K1 World Grand Prix champion kickboxer like Giga Chikadze, who, to his credit, has absolutely been smashing soup cans, but has shown unbelievable diversity in his ability to dispatch soup cans. And it is a bit of a detriment, I will say, that he's been fighting more no-name guys. But if you look back at what he's been capable of overall, nobody's really taken down and manhandled Giga Chikadze. And when you look back at his kickboxing, guys that tend to leave themselves open or lean forward or lurch out, he's got a real mean head kick that's real accurate. And when you combine that with the suspect jaw and the ability to be knocked out being increased on a guy like Cub Swanson, I see a real bad night for Cub. And I like Cub Swanson, but he's long in the tooth to begin with. You add that to the fact that you got a fucking world-class kickboxer who's looking specifically for an opening like you tend to give. I don't see Mr. Swanson seeing round 3. I think round 2, Giga knocks him the fuck out with a head kick. And thanks to the kid not being here, we all get a point for it. So how fun is that? Thanks, RJ. Oh, but that will bring us to our namesake for the evening, our marquee title matchup of the weekend. The reason the UFC is coming back to Vegas this week instead of next week, Dominic Reyes versus Yuri Prochaska. Oh boy, who wants this one?
Dominic Reyes, you on a 2-fight skid, fighting a dude who's done nothing but lit people the fuck up with KO after KO after KO. Yuri Prochaska. Did I get that right, Meter? Close enough, right? Yuri Prochaska. I got it wrong that time. This dude is on such a run. What is it like 8 in a row? Like 8 people in a row. And I think there's been like 2 decisions the whole time. He's finished everybody else. Like he's just finishing motherfuckers. So Yuri, I'm going to go Yuri end of the first, beginning of the second. Dominic Reyes, I like you as a fighter. Seemed like a good enough dude. I'm not sure why you signed up for this fight when you're on a 2-fight skid. Like that does not make a lot of sense to me. Like I'm on a 2-fight skid. I'm gonna go fight the dude who's finished everybody. I'm gonna go fight the dude who's finished the last 20 fucking people, and not just like TKO dude can't get his arms up. Like he's knocking people the fuck out. Like Dominic Reyes, this was not a smart decision. This was not a smart business decision on your part. And what little hair you got left on your head, you can be looking like me after Yuri Prochaska gets done just knocking it the fuck off the top of your head. That's what I got.
Oh, that's fantastic. Look, I'm going to say this. Dominic Reyes has taken a large fall from grace, in my opinion. Granted, I have to look at him right now like I look at Anthony Smith. I know damn well what he's capable of. He's just not managed to put his shit together. Had he had pulled his shit together after the John Jones fight, we very well could be looking at the fucking current champ. However, that's not the case. Because there's some real fucking power in Poland. With little feet. But he just can't seem to get it together. Now, that being said, the only 2 fights he's lost are in the UFC for the fucking belt. Both times were titled fucking challenges. With that being stated, maybe it's he can get there, he just can't finish. If that's the case, you need to see a doctor for that. There are things that can fix that. On the other side, you have one bad motherfucker coming in that not a lot of people gave credit to, or not the credit he deserved. Prochaska is fucking an absolute killer. And unfortunately, I don't think anybody recognized that from him. Because, he's coming in from PFO or fucking One or wherever the fuck he was. Or Ryzen. Yeah. So he's a little itty bitty fucking small guy. No, dude. There's a reason why he was running the fucking division there. He really is that bad of a motherfucker. And notice how I went through fucking 3 different fucking things? Because even I don't remember which fucking small fucking company he was fighting for. All I know is I've seen some of his old footage, and he was a badass there. Unfortunately, the level of fucking people that they had him fighting were not to what we see in the light heavyweight division in the UFC. Perfectly all right. But coming into the UFC, he has come in like an absolute bullet train, headed straight to the fucking station, and anything that gets in his way is getting blown the fuck off the tracks. Dominic better hope that he has his shit back together after this 2-fight skid here. Otherwise, we're going to see another bruised ass fucking ego along with some fucking ribs, because, apparently his ribs bruise easy after a couple of kicks. And then he'll sleep. Because Prochaska has some fucking knockout power. If you don't know, go watch his first 2 fights in the UFC. Fucking legitimate killer here. There's no rhyme or reason why any light heavyweight would come into the UFC and go from unranked to number 5 in just 2 fights. This dude is legitimate. I'm telling you, I think this is his chance to make 4 fights in the UFC and fighting for a title. Because if he wins this fight in dominant fashion like he's done so far, they have to give him a title shot. Because there's no one else in the light heavyweight division right now that makes sense. Now, Dominic can win this fight as long as he pulls his head out of his fucking ass or out of his feelings or wherever the fuck it is right now. Dominic's a legitimate badass too. I mean, look at the fight that he was in with John Jones. My opinion, he fucking won that fight. Or very well could have. Granted, that's what happens when you leave it to the fucking judges. But I don't know that Dominic, even with his head out of his ass, is going to have what it takes to fucking stop Yuri at this point, because that dude is an absolute monster. It's no wonder Vegas actually has him as a betting favorite over him, even though he's ranked lower. But I think we see our next title challenger win this fight. And I say next title challenger because I really do think that he's going to end up being the next guy fighting for the fucking belt. And with good reason. Now, do I think he's going to get past Polish power? Nah, son. I don't think he's got it because that dude's on a different level right now. But I definitely see him winning this. And I think he's going to knock him out. I don't think we see round 3. I'm going to say right in round 2. And it's going to come with a big old fucking right hand. Guaranteed it. Mark my words, about the 3-minute mark of round 2.
So this is an interesting matchup. I'm going note free here. We're free balling this one, so I don't even need the notes on this. this is a very interesting matchup here. On one hand, Yuri Prochaska is a fucking beast. Undeniable. Ask any of the last 8 guys who've stepped in front of him. He's a fucking monster. My issue is that they are pushing him faster than they have pushed any light heavyweight in recent history. His wins in the UFC have absolutely been devastating, but they have also, much like a certain other gentleman we talked about not that long ago, not been against the greatest names. Strength of resume in the UFC is not his strong suit. Strength very much is. Strength of resume is not quite there just yet. The problem is standing across from him is probably the biggest name to come across his resume yet in Dominic Reyes. And like TJ mentioned, Reyes only has 2 losses. One to John Jones in a title fight, which I completely agree he won, and one against the small-footed Polish monster that is Jan Blachowicz. Them tiny feet bruise ribs real fucking good, and those knuckles put faces to sleep real efficiently. The problem is, in taking those 2 title fight losses back to back, it has noticeably fucked Dominic Reyes' head up a little bit, to the extent that he very much now reminds me of a bigger version of Kelvin Gastelum. Very similar style sets, very similar situations where title fights, man. Title fights and great title fights, but title fight losses seem to really have a detrimental effect on guys' mentalities. We saw it in Kelvin Gastelum, and Kelvin has not been able to get his shit together yet. Yes, he got past Ian Heinisch, but that was not anything to fucking brag about. And you saw what happened when he stepped in there with fucking Whitaker. He does not have his shit back together yet. And at this point, realistically, he's running out of time to get it back together. And I think we're seeing the beginning of that exact same situation happen here with Dominic Reyes. I think he was a fucking beast tearing his way through that goddamn division on his way to John Jones. And then the fact that he lost to John Jones kind of fucked his head up a little bit, because he did go radio silent for a little bit before he came back with his extra bolsterous, well, now that the belt's open, it's obviously me, personality change. But then after we saw Jan put him down, he went radio silent again for a while, and he hasn't given me a reason to think that he's come out of that funk that we've seen him go in twice in a row now after a big loss. And with a beast like Yuri Prochaska, you don't get a chance to be in a funk. You don't get an opportunity to not be on your fucking game, because Yuri Prochaska has one speed, and it's, oh shit. He's not going to give Dominic Reyes a chance to get comfortable and come in here and get his footing and get back to where he felt like he should have been in the octagon. Yuri's going to come in here and he's going to try and take your fucking head off from the time that opening bell rings. I don't know if an unfocused Dominic Reyes can handle that. And as of right now, I have no reason to believe that Dominic Reyes has gotten his focus back. I completely agree. This was a stupid business decision on Dominic Reyes' part, and I don't think we see round 3. I don't know that we're going to see round 2. I think Dominic Reyes is still in his goddamn feelings, and he's going to be in La La Land when Yuri Prochaska gets unleashed on him. I don't think we see 3 minutes in the first round. I think Prochaska puts him out in 2-ish minutes.
And some bold words, Cotton.
I think I'm going to be right.
You know what? With the way Yuri's going, I'm inclined to agree.
Okay. I just want to clear the air a little bit, because I did fuck something up here. Not 2 wins in the UFC, 1 win in the UFC. His previous fight to that, though, was from a former UFC fighter in a CB Dalloway.
Yes,
now,
that's what got him his UFC contract. He beat CB Dalloway for the belt, or defending the belt.
Now,
and then got picked.
We also have to mention one other big name that is on his resume, King Mo. He did lose to King Mo in 2015, but then in 2019, he redeemed himself and beat him. So, I mean, and King Mo's no fucking
and to
joke.
be fair, and I was going to say, and to be fair, in 2015, King Mo was a motherfucker.
Yeah.
King Mo was a motherfucker of motherfuckers in 2015. So getting a loss to him back in his fucking legit prime, nothing to be fucking sad about, man.
No, I mean, so the dude's fought some big name guys and some fucking, he's got a solid resume. And not to mention your first fight in the UFC, you come in as a short notice fighter against the number, was he at the time ranked 7 or 6? Volkanov's Demir?
I think he was 7, yeah, when he clocked him.
Yeah, so I mean, as a
fuck out.
That fuck. That's a scary individual, man.
Yuri's a monster.
Yeah, Yuri's on a fucking mission, man. And I don't think if Dominic doesn't have his shit together, dude, this is gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. But that is all we have got for this particular episode here. So before we get the fuck on out of Dodge, I would encourage all of you, if you enjoy what we're doing around here, follow us on the socials. We are on Facebook at I'm No Joe. We're on Instagram at I'm No Joe. If you're watching these beautiful mugs here, you can also get this distraction-free all audio version, anchor.fm/I'm No Joe. If you're listening to these sultry tones, but not appreciating the facial follicles that we represent on the show that we put forth for you, I also encourage you to come over to youtube.com/I'm No Joe and watch our faces while we do this live every Thursday night. Or if you really get a kick out of what we do around here, patreon.com/I'm No Joe to help out around the show. Get your name on the end, get you access to behind the scenes shit, unaired and unairable videos as well. And we appreciate that as well. But that being said, before we get out of here, I do want to thank these gentlemen for coming along and taking part in the shit talking and shenaniganry that we get up to on the I'm No Joe podcast. So first and foremost, if someone by this point has not signed up for the Hug Chalathon and they need to know where they can put their John Hancock to get in on this fun, how can they get a hold of you after the show, Mr. Fresh03?
I would encourage them to come over to the DIY or Die channel next weekend. It will be starting Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific and running for 24 hours. 24 hours. We're having a 24-hour live stream to benefit Vape and Trucker. Mike, a good friend of the channel, good friend to everybody who's ever met him. He has come down with some small cell carcinoma in his lungs, and so we are raising money to help him out, help make him comfortable as he goes through all this. That will be once again over on the DIY or Die channel. So I encourage everyone to go subscribe to DIY or Die. And then hang out with us. Like I said, 24 hours. We got a ton of prizes. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one, everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time, Mr. Fresh03. And then, last but certainly not least, at this point, if someone hasn't, and I don't know why they wouldn't have by now, but if someone hasn't figured out where they need to go to get themselves some delicious cheese curds and then directions up towards Kenosha to get themselves a sighting of the killer himself, how can they get a hold of you after the show, Mr. Golf T Vapes?
Wednesday nights, 9:30 Central Time, right here on the YouTubes. Here every fucking week, and of course here on Thursdays. But yeah, I'll be having a pamphlet. I'm making a little thing for pamphlets that I will leave out sporadically throughout the city. All you have to do is pick one up. Give you directions to everywhere. We'll be making specially little boxes. You'll know exactly what they're going to be because it'll have Kenosha Killer listed right on it. So you'll see it. Bright, bold letters. And, possibly show you the one-way ticket, which is going to drive Rogers right out of Green Bay as well.
Thank you very much for your time, sir. Always appreciate it as well. And I am the Meter. You can follow me on any socials you feel inclined to. The Meter does many things. I'm everywhere. But that being said, we are going to call that all for this particular episode of the show. Thank you all for tuning in. I see you guys live, and I appreciate you just the same. Thank you for tuning in. If you are catching this on a replay, we appreciate you just the same. But we're going to call that all for this particular episode. So until next time, folks, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything. Unless you really thought Aaron Rodgers was going to let that shit slide.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times.